excused, 'cause you're always late, overweight, and totally rude, honey.
Been way distracted. Hey, welcome to episode number 25.
Hello, and Kristin's missing because she's
Life
taking
stuff.
a rejuvenation day. But what we were right in the middle of was
We miss you. Sorry.
you were talking about. I was talking about how that you should write every day, and I said one of the ways you get a calendar, and you make a rule that I'm not going to miss 2 days in a row. I'm going to try to do at least 2 days in a row. If you miss another day, fine, you make it up, but you try to keep the string going, and you set up a calendar and you mark off every time you write, even if it's a paragraph. It doesn't matter. What they've shown in studies is the easier it is you make it to start. It's like once you start something, then you'll start doing it. So, like if you looked around my room, I've designed everything around writing or painting. I mean, everything is, like if you go into somebody's house and you'll notice that their living room couch is facing the television, it makes it easier to watch the television. You go in, you sit down. So you should make it hard to watch the television. You should make it easy to write and easy to do your art and hard to do those things that waste, that feel good. That's, television is an immediate reward. Writing is a reward you get maybe a year from now, maybe a month from now. So you got to try to create these little rewards. And then you said what you were doing.
Yeah, I like what you added too, because I'll say what I said before, but also like I don't know, I've gotten into this new habit of trying to do it a little bit every day. But I didn't start trying to do it a little bit every day. I kind of ran off of some motivation that I had. Stop bugging me. It's trying to hop up, but I don't have any room since this thing's too close. And I got to fill out this whole notebook. And after that, I didn't. Yeah, it's cool. Sorry, you made me lose my train of thought.
Oh, okay. You gather your train of thought. No hurry.
I've been writing every day, kinda. I've been taking some days off when I've been feeling tired, but I noticed that before I was in the habit of like, the thing you said about TV is like, I was in the habit of watching YouTube videos or listening to stuff like that while I did things before. And I noticed I would stop doing whatever I'm doing to listen to whatever that was. Mm-hmm. And that was a really big problem because obviously listening to something is more stimulating than writing or writing comics because
you're creating. It's hard.
Yeah. And it like uses up all your concentration. And it's like if you're splitting it, then you're not going to have that focus. And what I told you before we started this podcast is that I notice it's kind of like a teeter. Like if you start going in the direction of being lazy, you're more likely to decide in that moment, like, oh, today I'm not really going to do it. Or if I'm like, oh, I'll just do like a little bit, like how you were saying, just like after you get started, it just kind of keeps going. And I don't know how long this I don't know, it's weird because I haven't been like this for a really long time, like just doing stuff all the time, and it feels really weird but really good. Like I'm getting a lot of stuff done, but I don't know, I feel like the only way that I can keep doing this is like exactly how you said, is just like keep doing it every day, even if I don't feel motivated, with the exceptions of like, if you take a day off from doing stuff. I feel like that's important too, because I notice if I start burning out and I push through that, then I'll be less likely. It will like start teetering back this way because tomorrow, the next day, I'll be even more exhausted because I'm not giving myself time to rest and think about what I want to do.
What do you do when you go to sleep at night? Do you watch television to fall asleep, or how do you go to sleep?
I do, but not television that's mentally engaging, more like
it doesn't matter. Television produces the blue light, and that blue light tricks your brain into staying awake. So the worst thing you could do is watch television and go to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, you fall
I
asleep.
don't have problems falling asleep. I go to sleep almost right away.
Yeah.
But my partner really likes having the TV on because it's like, I don't know, it's like relaxing, I guess. I don't know. I know it's bad for you. I've heard a lot of studies about that. Oh, kicked him. He's under me now.
I'll tell you, that mustache is really starting to, it's like I can't stop looking at that mustache.
What are you talking about?
Oh my
Oh,
God.
what a mustache.
So here's the thing, and this really makes a lot of sense. Like, let's say that you set a goal and you want to work out 3 days a week. You're going to work out, and lots of times, you write it down. Okay, that's fine. But if you tie it to something else, like something that you're going to do, like, let's say when you put your tennis shoes on and you step outside the door, more than likely you're going to go ahead and go on to go work out, So you've got to create these things, setups, so you'll start doing these to build the habit. Because and they say it takes 30 days to build a habit. So you start setting up your room or your space so that it's going to reinforce those habits. The problem with creativity is you don't get the dopamine hit right away. I do when I'm writing. Once I get into writing, suddenly I'm lost in it and I'm just like in the flow. But a lot of the times, if I'm editing, that's the farmer work. I'm bored out of my mind. And then I'll have to, do something like take a drug like Copenhagen or smoke a cigar. And and what I found out today is just screwed my teeth up, my gums. I've got to stop doing that. I've stopped. But it's like, you've got to figure out ways that don't punish your body to get your job done, to get the creative part of your work done.
Yeah. I've been doing a cup of coffee. I don't know if that's bad for you or not. Probably kind of is, but I don't finish it usually.
It's not bad. It's not good. It's just, it stimulates you. As long as you don't drink instant coffee, because instant coffee is it's got gluten,
That's the only thing.
gluten. So throw away the instant coffee. Make real coffee.
I don't have a real coffee maker.
Okay.
I have
so
an instant coffee. I have a hot shot.
You're drinking gluten, and if you feel sluggish and tired, it's usually because gluten will cause it. So it's a big deal to be, like you are, like I am, or like Chris, on our own. Well, you've got support, your husband, and I've got my support are you guys, and that's it, And so I have to create support to keep myself, entertained, so to speak, or, so that it, like say, you don't burn out. There's something I was trying to think of that I came across today.
I want to say real fast too that I like how you said that you want to set up your whole workspace. Like, I used to only try to work in my room, and like that's right next to my bed and all that. It's where my desk is. And I noticed that when I started doing stuff downstairs on the kitchen table, because we never use the kitchen table anyways, like, I don't know, like I can spread everything out and I could look at things and like, I don't know, it feels way cleaner and faster.
It's cleaner, easier. Let me
Like,
show
I
you.
agree with that.
Here's an example, okay? So my big thing, as I just told you before we started, I've got to change my diet. I've got to eat healthier. So one of the things, I heard this as a suggestion, but it makes sense. Instead of having my bowl of fruit and apples in the kitchen where I normally have it, and I have to, I see it when I go in there, it's right here. It's right out in my living room. So there's, so I'll see it. So I'm
honestly, fruit's the bomb. Fruit's delicious. So
so I'm more likely to eat healthy if it's in my way. So you want to put stuff kind of in your way. I mean, it sounds crazy, but you've got to figure out ways to develop these habits, because Just
I don't
saying,
think it sounds crazy though. That makes sense. Like if
yeah,
it's in your vicinity and you see it, like
you
I don't
see
know,
it
that sounds
and
really good.
yeah. Now, the next thing I have to create are systems to buy the right kinds of food because if I get into a grocery store, I'm buying sugar and gluten. I just end up doing that.
You could try it's a little more expensive, but you should try going somewhere like a Whole Foods where like it's
Well,
mostly health
I
foods.
I went to
Like
Whole Foods, and this is in my health kick thing,
yeah.
and I started drinking organic green tea, and I thought, oh, I won't like it. Well, I like the peppermint, and there's an organic green tea that's it's like mango and something else. And like, wow, this really
Hey.
tastes good. So I started drinking. That is going to be my drink, not sodas, not Coke, and that's
Yeah.
all sugar. So
How do
it's
you
going to
feel about
be
sparkling water too? Sparkling water
yeah,
is
sparkling water,
nice.
anything
Yeah.
like that is great. Is
Yeah.
great.
There's like I don't know. You know, my dad's a doctor. Like they're always trying this new weird diet. I feel like my whole family. There's some health food like snacks that are like I don't know. You wouldn't think would be good, but they're pretty good. Like freeze dried chocolate covered bananas, like or Greek yogurt covered dried strawberries or something. Like
Is it got gluten in it?
I don't know. There's vegan, non-GMO. There's like if you go on Amazon and you search non-gluten health snack or something like
Yeah.
that, like you'll be surprised. There's like I don't know. Like I'm even starting to notice maybe it's because it's California, but even like in Rite Aid, they're getting like healthier snack sections of like I don't
Yeah.
know. There's more variety than there was like say like 6 years ago. And
Yeah. And
I don't
people
know.
and Whole Foods and places like that, they're gonna take advantage. I don't know if they say take advantage, but they're
They
more
charge so
expensive.
high.
They're so expensive. But the reason is, the stuff's organic, so that means it doesn't have the chemicals in it. Now,
Yeah.
for you, because you're like a third of my age, so you've got, or even probably,
No, look at my gray hairs.
you're, you could, probably eat, road tar and you'd be fine. But if you did keep eating road tar till you're my age, you're gonna like part of your face will be all hardened and everything. So you got to start these
I'd
habits.
become
Yeah,
the tar.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
But
it's
it,
true.
it's creating rewards too. Rather than I've never been good with, writing out. Though I have noticed when I write goals, there's another thing. This guy said, what was it? You when you write your goal. This is an old statistic, and I don't know if I can remember it, but if you write a goal down, and then if you write the goal and you put it where you'll see it, like I showed you, on my board right here. So, not just the goal, but the steps, to doing it. And so there was the study, and it showed if you write the goal, there was some percentage of people that will follow through. And if you write the goal and if you put it in a place where you're going to see it every day, you like double the chance of that getting done. But then if you write the goal, put it where you're going to see it, and then share that goal with a friend or your workout mate or whatever, you have like quadrupled the odds of completing it. So you want to try to set up these things that based on studies that show, here's the way, it might take a little research, but
Yeah.
you start incorporating all those into your daily life. At first, it might seem overwhelming, but in a week or two or 10 days, it's just going to be starting to become a matter of, just following through, just like
Yeah.
like brushing your teeth, brush your teeth after every meal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's like
I brush my teeth and floss my teeth, but not for the reason you would think. I started flossing my teeth because I broke a crown and it catches food, so I have to floss to make sure that's clean. But well, since I'm already here, I might as well floss the next one and the next one. But see what I mean? The one thing got me there, and hey, I'm already here. It's easy to do the rest of the teeth. Now, I don't know how many times when I was younger, I've always heard, you got to floss your teeth every day. And it's like, screw you. I've never, I'll floss my teeth like once a month or so. I mean, I didn't do it like, you're supposed to. If you're brushing, I'm good enough. But this sort of, this.
Like you didn't like the uncomfortable feeling of like something getting caught in there.
Yeah. And what happens is the more you don't do that, the more uncomfortable it's going to be. And, on and on and on and on.
I used to have braces and like, I don't know, you'd have to floss all the time, but it was the most painful freaking, you needed like this threader that would go in between it and get under it.
Tell me about it.
Took forever, like 20 minutes to floss your freaking teeth. Oh my God, in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, eventually, like, you can kind of feel for where you are, but like,
wow.
Way too long. Way too much effort.
Yeah, amazing. And now that you've got everybody's stomachs turned about the flossing in between your braces, oh my God.
Yeah, now let's talk about my calling. No, okay.
Yeah, let's talk about your what project are you working on right now?
I actually wrote out. You know how last time we were on here, Christin, you showed me the roadmap that she drew.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's actually a really good idea. I should kind of do that in my plot and see where things fall in. And I remember you talking about the mentor, and I had a scene that I deleted with a character that I wasn't going to include, but was very much like a mentor to the main character. Mm-hmm. And I roped that back in there. And actually, like, I got it to fit in, and I was really proud about that. It makes sense. So...
Do your characters start talking? Do they come alive for you?
Yeah. Recently, I don't know what it is about writing comics, but like I don't know, I get really sucked into it. Like I just do it for, like I started working on it at like 1:00 today, and it's like we started this at 7:30, right? I literally stopped right before we got on.
Wow.
Yeah. And the only thing I don't like about it is that, no, I don't hate it. I don't hate any part of it, really. Like, I don't know, I haven't been annoyed like I have been with some of the other creative things I've done. Like, sewing, you get hunched over what you're doing, and like, it's kind of like you poke yourself and it's annoying. And like writing, I feel like I get caught up in my own head and trying to like hold everything. But with like comics, it's like, I don't know, like seeing all of it at a glance, I feel like makes it come easier.
Well, that's where basically that map that Christin sent you was, that stuff that I wrote up. I mean, I've been doing forever. It's called mind mapping, but she just added the really cool, she turned it into a picture, which is great.
It was great. I mean, like, great. I'll show it kind of. But I did like a little pseudo one of just like the arcs, and I did this entire thing, and I'm working on that one, and then the rest of it's kind of like the fun and games, and then the end. Yeah,
and those turns could be literally turning points in your story.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and also different places and things.
Now, here's the thing. Like, let's say that you're writing an action thriller, and you have lots of short sentences. Short sentences create speed and movement.
I was writing an action scene today, and I had a really hard time with it. All right, sorry to interrupt.
No, that reminded me of that. Yeah, jump in. But if what you want to do is go scene and then sequel, so it'd be like you do this scene, Tom walks into the room, and suddenly his boss comes in and yells, "You're fired." Okay, end of scene. Now the sequel would be Tom feels, it just hits him. He's in shock. He has to now make a decision. If he goes home with no job, his wife's going to like kill him. If he doesn't, so he's got a dilemma. He's got to quandary. What's he going to do? Then the next part of that sequel is he makes a plan. I know what I'm going to do. A friend of mine said, they've got a new opening. I'm going to go there. Since the guy doesn't want me to work, I'm not going to spend my rest of the time here. I'm going to go get another job and go up home. Then the last part of the sequel is he takes action. And guess what that leads into? The next scene. So if you get stuck, you could use that to go into your next scene, which is he's at his friend's place. And the friend says, why don't you take, this job? And I mean, I'm sure that they'll want you to take the job. And so he sees the guy who's the boss of the company. The guy hires him. And so he goes back and he tells his wife, and she goes, well, are you going to make what about how much are you going to make? And he goes, well, actually, I'm going to make more money. The bad news is we're going to have to move. Right now, I'm not going to make as much money, but we're going to have to move. And she goes, well, if we got to move, we got to, anyway. So what happened? I'm trying to create a whole story, and I really can't do it.
I think you're doing a pretty good job. I mean, like, from the top of your head, that's something.
What I was going to say is
It's your next book.
What I forgot to say was the night before he gets fired, him and his wife sat down and they made up their plans. They were going to buy a new house, and they're going to start putting money away in their 401k, and they wanted to have him spend more time with the wife and his kid, and they had this all mapped out. He goes to work and he gets fired. Bang. Then the sequel is, he feels in shock, makes, he's in a quandary, he knows his friend, he makes a decision, he takes action. So he goes and gets a new job, and then they move, he's got this new job, he starts working. And then a year later, he sits down and he realizes that he went back and he looked at what they'd written about his job, and he found out he now was making twice as much money as he was making in the other job. He really enjoys it. He enjoys the company of the people, and they also have mandatory time off, so he's got more free time. So all of these things happened out of this disaster, which was this kind of turning point. So, that was the turning point in this little story that I'm making up. But yeah. That has a sort of a moral and a beginning and an end. And it's like, just because, and people always say this, like one door closes and another door opens. And sometimes, here's what I've found, like that guy, and I've done this myself. The way I had created my business, I could only go so high. In terms of income, I could only go so high. But by changing my whole career and everything, I ended up in a position like I'm now where it's unlimited. And, in terms of, there is no ceiling, I don't work for somebody where it's an hourly wage. At first it might feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have a guaranteed income. And that's what farmers love, guaranteed incomes. And so that's why there's so much competition for, these jobs that are, what do I want to say? They're non-scalable. In other words, you can't scale up. Like, for example, I was at the dentist's office today. Well, she has a cap on how much money she can make because she can only see patients 8 hours a day. So the only way she can make more money is she has to up her fees. Well, if she ups her fees, she might lose clients. So now she drops her down. So it's a constant dilemma for somebody working for an hourly wage. I, as a writer, I work on projects that I want to work on that have an unlimited ability to go up. If the book sells, and who knows, it could end up being a bestseller. There's no cap, and so that type of a job is said to be, I think the term is scalable. So you can, there's no, you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You don't have that hindrance. So sometimes you'll leave a job almost like you're unconscious saying, hey, how are you going to double your income in a job that you're only making, $20 an hour, and the most you can make is $30 an hour? How are you going to double your income? Well, you're not. So you sometimes may have to completely back up and go into a whole different career. What's great about being creative is you can create the career and you can drag along with you the elements of your last career. So I'll give you an example. I was a real estate developer and I was a stockbroker, and then I became a writer. Well, how could all of that work? Well, my first clients were investment advisors and investment firms and real estate firms. Well, I already knew the language. I already had the contacts. So suddenly I was a writer in an industry where I was like the big fish big fish in a small pond, versus me being a writer competing against other writers trying to write about, Aunt Mary's best cat. 800 writers are right now, as we speak, writing about Aunt Mary's best cat, writing about the cat, where the cat sleeps, how wonderful the cat is, blah, 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 blah. So you want to try to go where people aren't, go, or I forget who said this. It was this really famous hockey player, and they asked him, how did he get so many goals? And he said he skis not where the puck is, but where it's going to be. So he's always skiing where the puck's going to be at. So it's kind of like your career, the way you kind of want to look at.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, okay, let's say you're writing about vampires. Well, but you're not writing about the traditional vampires. You put a special twist on the vampire. Great. That's cool. You can still bring in all the knowledge of vampires into this new thing, but your vampires, have a new different set of problems, and maybe they're more human, or maybe they're whatever. But you each time you make a change, or each time you take on a new book project, you bring with you all of that, all of the stuff that you've already learned or you've trained yourself to do.
Yeah.
Like this new book that I'm going to be working on, I could easily get overwhelmed because there's going to be a lot of people involved in it, and it's this family, and I need to listen to them. But what I'm doing right now is I've been setting up my client to know that a lot of stuff is probably going to get cut. What I'm kind of teaching him is the rules of writing like a bestseller. And, we want to have one point of view character, not 16 points of view. That would confuse the reader. But amateurs they don't know that. They're going to write what, Mary's did, and that it confuses the reader. So you got to constantly think about who the reader is. So I'm trying to train him, and I send him a new list of things every day that are basically kind of the rules of writing, my rules of writing. And that way, when I get back the information he sends me, then I can put it in neat piles and go back to it, sort it out, and not have useless like he said, okay, what I'll do, I'm going to write a full page on 10 scenes. You said write 10 scenes. So I'm going to write a full page. I said, don't do that. Look, get little 3x5 cards and write one paragraph of what the scene is. Put the date, the place, and the time, time, put it away. Do the next one. Don't give me a full page. First of all, I don't want to read a full page. It's too early, And by the way,
You're not even there yet.
Yeah, you're not going to forget it. If it's a autobiographical thing,
if it happened to you, yeah.
You're going to remember it. All I want you to do is write a sentence or two so I can get what the scene is. And then, good. Okay, we're going to use the third scene and the second scene, and we're going to cut the other ones out. Well, now you write your one page, and you haven't wasted 50 pages, or in his case, 100 pages, which would have taken him, he wouldn't have done it. I know people tell me they're going to do that, and they don't. It's hard enough to write a page every day, let alone 10 pages, just because Yeah, they think they've got a whole scene until they start to write it all out. Yeah, it's maybe a sentence or two. They
I
don't have.
hate when that happens so much too. When you think you have it all planned out and you're like, oh, it's going to be so good. And it's really not anything on paper.
Yeah. Well, isn't it better to find this out now than
Exactly.
write 300 pages? I mean, I've got several books in my computer that I never look at because I wrote myself into corners because I didn't plan ahead. So I wrote and wrote and wrote. And it was fun what I was writing, but I thought I was going somewhere, but I'd get myself in traps and I couldn't get out. I couldn't recover from it. I would write down into a tunnel and I go, what is this about? So now I spend a lot of time up front. That's why I talk to you. You want to have your theme. This is why this Save the Cat book is so good, because it teaches you formula, like a formula, not formulaic of everything you do, but like something that works to hold your mind in that state as you're trying to create this book.
I remember you saying that last time, and I actually went through and I feel like I found myself my theme that just based off of like kind of what's already been going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I was gonna show you, but then I looked at this page and it looks like this mess. See all the green and red. But I did the what you want and what you need.
Oh, good.
In the theme.
Okay, so just give me a couple of what you want and what you need. Just read them.
What he wants is.
And see, when I'm saying what he wants, that's on the outer. That's the outer part of the story. That's the story. The inner story is what he needs, and that's the hard part.
Well, what he wants is revenge and a win and like money, like monetary things, like all kind of like pseudo, not like good goals to have, right? But what he needs is to take responsibility for his actions and like his life choices instead of like relying on luck to get him through life.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, because that kind of goes with the theme too, because the theme is if you rely on luck, then you've already lost because you give up all your chances of.
Well, you give up your power. What you're saying is that the world is more powerful than you. And by the way, the world gives a shit less about you.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't want to hurt you, doesn't want to help you. The world is indifferent.
Yeah, exactly. And like Lamb, my character, he thinks the world's out to get him and that he's just unlucky and that like basically he doesn't have any power over it. That's just his life, like.
Yeah.
Like I kind of have it kind of comedically, or even where it goes into the background of like how we got here. It starts with the world hates me. Ever since I was young, I was bad at everything or something like that. I don't know where that is, but yeah.
You can build
the world hates me.
Yeah, and it's easy to build a case for that. And they've done studies on people that are on how long people live, and people that are pessimistic, they die like something like 7.6 years younger than somebody who's optimistic or somebody who's happy. And all you got to do is just, again, it's back to your point of view or your perspective of your situation. If you think, all the stuff we're talking about doing, setting up these goals, setting up ways to make sure you write every day, setting up the way I eat right every day, setting this stuff up is called taking responsibility. So actually it's doing what the guy needs. So if you're going to show this in your story, you could show it as putting fruit in a bowl out where he's going to trip over it because he needs to lower his cholesterol,
Yeah. And what was that? You said something else about like what would be like keeping him from that goal, and it could be like
obstacles.
Yeah, I think physical obstacles are really good too, but also like metaphorical obstacles, like
Yeah.
If he were to take responsibility for his own actions and put his life in his own hands instead of luck, then that means every mistake he's ever made is all his fault, or like was
Yeah.
his, like he had more choice in the matter.
And what is that
So he
person
just
called?
like, so he would feel like a failure, like in
What
that
is that
regard.
person called that you just described? What do we call them?
I don't know.
Starts with a V. A victim.
Victim. Yeah.
They're a victim of life. They're a victim of everything.
Like he'd
Now-
rather be a victim of life than a failure. Like, or made the wrong decision, or like what
Well,
if
guess what?
he
If I'm a
almost doesn't
victim-
like making the choice, you know?
Yeah, that's it. You got it. See, if I'm a victim, I don't take responsibility for anything.
Yeah.
How can I? I'm a victim.
Yeah, it's
I
just
didn't do
life.
it.
The world
I was
hates
minding
me.
my own business, and Donald Trump came along and hit me on the head. And look at me now. I've lost all my money. Or Donald Trump came along and I said, "Get out of here, you goofy doughball!" And
You
took my
goofy
money and left.
goober.
Yeah, but what happens is, I mean, this is a great way to show your character. And you can think of it like, you know, if the guy is a victim, he's not taking responsibility.
Mhm.
And then he changes, and then, at the end of the book, now he's
He's
eating
taking
right,
leave.
taking responsibility. And you don't ever have to say the words, he's taking
Yeah.
responsibility. These are notes that you write down. These are it's called, the backstage. The front stage is your novel, is your book or your screenplay. The backstage is all the stuff that goes on. Like if you go to a play, all you see is the characters out on the front stage. The backstage, there might be 25 people running around, moving props, making sure, lines get read, handing out scripts, making sure the lighting's, that's backstage. I know I'm yawning. I guess I must be getting,
You're gonna make me yawn.
yeah.
Yeah.
I need more dope. I just ate, so
Hurt.
anyway. So I think that's pretty good for tonight. We
Yeah.
got a good little kind of, to sum it up.
I feel like what you were just talking about, how you kind of want it to be more subtle. Like, I feel like this outline that I've been doing, like, I hit all my dialogue. I feel like I have to go over again because I'm like trying to focus on what I want said in a scene. So I'm having characters just say things that hit the nail on the head of the situation, but I don't necessarily think
Yeah,
should be
there's-
said word for word.
Right. Okay. Let me give you some kind of advice on that. You don't want dialogue to hit the nail on the head. You don't
Yeah.
want,
No,
because people don't
I
talk
know
like that. People talk like you and I are talking. We interrupt. We go,
I'm really just doing it for the outline, but every time I reread over it, I'm like, oh, that's cringe. Like,
well, okay.
people
First,
don't just say that.
A lot of writers don't, there's a lot of different schools of thought. I mean, if you're Aaron Sorkin, you start off, you write dialogue. All of his stories are all dialogue, pure dialogue, but you're not Aaron Sorkin. How many people are like that? Other schools of thought are, you don't write, the dialogue's the last thing to go into the story. First, you plan the story out, you write the scenes, you get everything there. And then once the whole book is laid out, then you go back and write the dialogue. This is more like for a screenplay. Then you go back and you put the dialogue in. And it's the
I don't
dialogue.
know if I like that, because what if somebody says something that changes the scene, or you think of something
That's the problem if you're going with dialogue. If you're writing from just as you're starting it, and I'd write dialogue a lot of times too, but if I've got the whole story laid out and then I look at it and put the dialogue in, that dialogue is going to match the scenes that I've got laid out, versus I might have gone off on a tangent with my dialogue, or I might have written, I might be trying to show you something like exposition, but I'm doing it with dialogue rather than, showing it in showing it.
Yeah.
Cross.
But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's okay to do a little bit of that in
Sure.
like your first draft, and then when you go back over it, you're like, okay, let me chop out all the stuff that doesn't make sense, and reword
Well,
this so it sounds better. And
here's another thing you could think of. It's like Jerry Seinfeld was asked, how do you get to become, a better stand-up comedian? He goes, you got to write every day. Write 10 jokes a day, even if they're bad. Every day, but every day you write and you write. So here's what I wanted to tell you. So there's been, these are old stories, but there's a story about this teacher, this ceramics teacher, and he had divided the class into two groups. And one of the groups, they were supposed to make a ceramic, whatever it was going to be, a pot or something, but it had to be the best one that they could make. And they literally would have all semester to just work on one project. So they would turn in one, project for the group and then be graded on it. And then the other group, each one of them would do one project. And then the other group, they weren't going to get graded on whose ceramic pot was the best. They were going to get graded on how many pots they could make in the course of the class. So when the whole thing gets done, guess who had the best looking pots?
The people who did a bunch of them, probably.
Yeah, the ones that weren't trying to make the best pots, but what they were doing was every day they were making pots and pots and pots. So they learned how to make pots. The other people were trying to,
perfect one single pot.
Perfection, which means you can't screw up, which creates stress, which on and on and on and on. So, the bottom or the takeaway from that is every day you want to do, like I try to think about content. I write lots and lots of content. A lot of it I won't use. I go back and it'll suck, or the dialogue doesn't, work.
Yeah.
And I go back and I'll look at that dialogue, and I love editing down dialogue because I'll edit down to just 2 or 3 words.
That's great. I heard there was a rule for that, like the shorter you could say something, the better, or something like that.
Because what happens is sometimes people fall in love with their own voice, and then they write this dialogue that sucks, and they won't change it. They don't change anything. And
the best
writing
is the people who try to sound like Shakespeare.
Yeah, they're trying to sound like themselves, and they don't sound like Shakespeare. They sound like Bob Kramus. Bob Kramus doesn't sound. He sounds like dopey. Do-do-do-do. He doesn't know it. Nobody's going to tell him. But Bob, you need to try.
Think about yourself, Bob. Think about yourself.
Come on, Bob. Get out of here. Well, let's wrap this up because it's now night time.
Yeah. And I think that was good. I think we said a lot of good things.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't know. That's stuff that I feel like I'm going to use tomorrow.
Yeah, great. Well, that's what I was hoping. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm teaching my client, not that he's going to become a writer. I don't want him to become a writer. But I want him to understand what I'm doing, because I'm the writer on this project. I'm not really a ghostwriter because I'm not writing for him.
You want him to be on board with it.
Yeah, I want in a way I want to lower his expectations. Expectations about a lot of different, how long it's going to take. But he's really good. He already understands that, and we've worked together, so he knows a lot of this stuff. But I'll pass it on to you and Christin and the listeners. So, okay.
Hello, listeners.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great night.
Always
Bye.
late.
Put your mustache back on.
Yeah, dang it.
Honey, you're excused. And I can't believe you were anywhere near my goods. Oh,